Super Bowl 54, we got two different styles. First of all, start with the head coaches. Kyle Shanahan, who is the son of Mike Shanahan, who has had a lot of success in the past as a head coach in the NFL. And we got Andy Reid on the other side, who's been around a long time and has success in the NFL as well. He's taken teams deep. He hasn't won the big game. And Kyle Shanahan, of course, will go down in history, unfortunately for him, of having a 28-3 lead at halftime as an offensive coordinator and blowing the game with poor clock management, which he has learned a lot from and has haunted him according to things that he has said. We have two styles. We got two quarterbacks. Garoppolo for San Francisco he's had games when he's thrown 25, 29 passes, but in the playoffs, Mike, he's been held down because of the style of game they've been playing is run the ball and play good defense, and they've been dominating on the ground, so they haven't needed a lot of passing. That doesn't mean he can't pass the ball, and it doesn't mean he hasn't been successful, because he has been. But he has not been utilized in that way because of the matchups they've had, and they've been successful. Defensive-wise, San Francisco has a fantastic offensive and defensive line, and the defensive line especially puts a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback, and they do it with four down. They don't have to blitz. They do occasionally, but they don't have to, because those four defensive linemen are very capable of getting to the quarterback, and they create a lot of havoc. What they have to face, though, this week, and I want you to talk about this, is Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably the best quarterback in football, and he's certainly going to get paid probably in the neighborhood of $40 million a year going forward after this year. A lot of money. But he is at the top of the heap right now as the young stud in the game. Mike, I know you have a very strong opinion on Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, I do, Jim. I just want to make one comment about Jimmy G, about when he attempts so many passes. When he passes the ball for 25 times or more in a game, his passer rating is in the low 50%. I believe it's around 53%, his rating. And the lower amount of passes he does in a game, his percentage goes up. So if he happens to be forced to throw the ball a little more in this game, it could be a problem for them, because that's when he seems to make some mistakes. But as far as Patrick Mahomes, now I feel he may get sacked because that San Francisco front seven is very good and they're quick. But he turns bad plays into gains, with his legs and his arms. He's very dangerous. He breaks out of those, like I said, he probably will get sacked. But he has the speed receivers that if he has any bit of time, I do not believe the Niner secondary will be able to keep up with them. They're not quick enough for the receivers on the Chiefs. So they're going to have to try and contain Mahomes, but I feel their best offense and defense would be if they can have a running game, the 49ers. But the Chiefs, who are very underrated to me with their defense, and their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, back in 2007, did a great job when he was with the Giants on stopping Tom Brady and his 17-0 team with Randy Moss and company. So I firmly believe he will have a game plan that will handle Mr. Mostert and his running game. And if that's the case, because last week against Tennessee, they surely did a great job against Derrick Henry, holding him to 76 yards. But mostly in the second half, he only, I think, touched the ball maybe 7 times, because by then Tennessee had lost that 10-point lead they had, and so they had to turn to the passing game. But the Chiefs, that front seven with Jones back, and, you have Suggs there now, and Honey Badger, I mean, they just seem to turn it loose, and Tannehill had no time really get move the ball downfield with a passing game. So if you look at the Niners with Jimmy G wearing a knee brace, his mobility is very limited. I can't see him making headway in this game, especially if they fall behind, with his immobility and all, because, like I say, the Chiefs' defense to me is the key, and they're very good. I know they've been, all we're hearing about is the Niners' defense, which, you should hear about them, but now they're facing a quarterback that could move. Cousins and Rodgers did not move in the first two games, and their offensive game plan was not that good, where the Chiefs will come out firing because they've shown in the last 2 weeks they could fall behind by 24 or by 10 and come back. I mean, it could be a different story if that would be the case with the Niners because they like to run the ball. But I just feel they're going to have a hard time in this game, the Niners. I really do. I see the Chiefs putting some points on the board. Like I said, the speed will be too much, and they're gonna stop this running game, and that will create the ultimate test for Jimmy G. How good can he move around, and can he get to those receivers? Because I noticed last week, like I said earlier, when Tennessee fell behind, it seems like Spagnuolo turned up the heat on the Tennessee offense, and they had nowhere to go there. They got a 7-point, they got a touchdown late in the game in the fourth quarter. So really, they got shut out in the second half, except for that late score. And the same thing with Houston. They scored 7 points in the second half after getting up 24-0 on the Chiefs. And the weather, from what I'm seeing, is going to be around 70 degrees and sunny in Miami next Sunday, even though that could change at any moment. But then the Chiefs are a bad weather team, so I don't see it affecting them. So, in my opinion, I'm looking for the Chiefs to at least win this game by 7 points and give Andy Reid his first Super Bowl win, which he is well deserved of, being the coach that has the 6th most NFL wins in NFL history.
Well, that's a great analysis, Mike. I'll tell you what, if you give me 7, I'll bet the Niners right now.
I hear you.
I understand and I appreciate everything you said. Where I disagree with you is I do think the Niners are going to be able to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be stopped. They have a 3-headed monster in the backfield. They don't have Henry, the power running game. They have a lot of mobility. They use a lot of pre-snap movement, which is very important, and it's very confusing to the defense. I think that Shanahan is going to be able to control the ball on the ground and run for quite a bit of yardage. Now, I think Garoppolo's going to have to do more than he's done the last couple of weeks, and that is an advantage to Mahomes because Mahomes is, in my opinion and yours and most people's, Mahomes is the superior quarterback. So I can understand why Kansas City's favored. It's basically Mahomes. You're looking at the best quarterback right now in football, and over Jimmy G that threw the ball 8 times last week. So the public, who's all over Mahomes, and the pedigree of Andy Reid, who's been around a long time, he's a household name. I can understand it, but it's really not a favorite when you're talking about a 1-point line. I mean, you're not really a favorite when you're a 1-point. The game's even. So who's going to win the game? If I gave you 3 either side, what would you do? If I gave you 4 either side, what would you do? And I think most people would grab those points. I don't know if you would, but I would. But in this situation now, I do see the weather. I just clicked on it right now, and a slight chance of moderate rain showers. The temperature is nice, 64 to 75 in that range. And there's really, at this moment, no predicted wind. But we are over a week away, so in Miami that can change rapidly. The weather could make a big difference. And for me, the way I'm going to bet this game is I'm going to wait to bet it in game, which is an advantage to players like myself and you, where we can get in there and see what's going on and make adjustments in the game, which we couldn't do years ago. They didn't have this type of betting. They only had first half, full game in first half, second half. Now we're looking at a total that opened up at 51.5 or 52, and it shot all the way up to 54.5, in some places 55. With the weather as a possibility of a problem, an advance bet on the under is not a bad idea. You can always get off of it, and if the weather really gets bad, you'd have an advantage in that spot. Teaser action on the game is a possibility. You could take either side. You could take the total. There's a lot of props out there. I don't know if you've had time to look at the props, Mike, but there's a lot of props out there. I'm looking at the first quarter under. I think you're going to get some nerves. Nervous quarterbacks, nervous players, the Super Bowl big stage. And I think you might, if you can get 10.5 out there, I think that'd probably be the right side of that. And I'm not saying to bet the whole game under. I'm saying the first quarter under. Even when games go under in the first quarter, they can go over because they can score fast. As you mentioned, Kansas City was able to come back from a 24-0 deficit and score 51 straight points. I mean, they're very explosive. That's going to be the issue. I think it's a great game to watch as a fan. I think it's a great game to watch, even if you don't have a nickel on the game. I'm going to do a lot of prop betting, and I'm going to do a lot of in-game betting. But I'm not advising anyone to bet a side at this point because I don't see an edge, personally.
Yeah, I hear you, Jim. And when you were talking about the line, if it was 3 or 4, I took Kansas City -1. I probably would go up to 3 at the most. If it was something where it was 4 or more, I would really have to think about the 49ers because of their defense. And I think it is going to be a great game to watch. And I will participate because, like I said, I took the Chiefs -1 and I sprinkle a little on the money line. But the one prop that I noticed that caught my eye, there's 2 different numbers, is Jimmy Garoppolo's passing yards. It's 239.5 at Westgate and 247.5 at William Hill, and I seem to think that the under yards would be the play in this game. Whether if they happen to be in the lead and they happen, then they're going to try, they're going to run the ball more. If it's a game where he has to catch up, well, then I could be on the wrong side and maybe complete some passes and gets that kind of yards. But to me, that's a lot of yardage for Jimmy G, because, like you said, they got the 3-headed monster. But like I was saying when we talked the other day, I don't know how many carries Breida will get, because the last time he only had, I think, 2, and I know he had a couple instances where he fumbled the ball, and I believe he may have gotten in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. Now, whether he'll be out for this, because you have to see with Coleman with the separated shoulder. I know they said he's going to go, and he probably will give it a try. But if he gets hit in the wrong spot, that could he could be out of that game, and then you're down to 1 or 2 or 1 running back. That's what concerns me just a little bit as far as them dominating the running game. But I believe Mostert's total yards is around 80. At some place, I think it might even come down a little now. So that's telling me, well, is he going to have he's not going to have the kind of game he had against Green Bay or Minnesota. I don't see that happening at all. I really have a lot of confidence in this Kansas City defense after what I've seen what they did with Henry, even though he's a one-man show. But still, he's a hell of a back, and Baltimore, with their defense, couldn't stop him, neither could the Patriots. And the Patriots, their defense was better this year than their offense, as far as I'm concerned. So, but that was the one prop I looked at, and I agree with you. The first quarter, 10.5 is always, to me, a good play on the under. The only prop I would maybe play is that yardage play, because I don't want to get it interfere with my bet on the Chiefs as far as the game and the money line. But I think next year might be the way is to get involved with a lot of those props and not get involved with the game when a line is this low, because it's really picked the winner. But I just feel really strong about the Chiefs. So I'm not going to do much with the props. That's my opinion.
Well, this is when you first look at this game, and they were all good points, Mike. when you look at this game and you think, oh, San Francisco, who's many times has scored in the 30s, and of course Kansas City many times have scored in the 30s this year. Now they're not always playing top quality competition because the league has about eight teams or 10 teams in it that are pretty low graded clubs. So you can score a lot of points against them, but with the explosiveness of both teams, and they are both explosive for different reasons. You have the Mahomes explosiveness. You don't have the Garoppolo explosiveness, but they're both capable of scoring a lot. You look at it, you say, damn, I'm going to bet that game over. But then when you start putting in the fact, and this is a fact, an underlying fact. I have to go back to this point that I made earlier. Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for Atlanta a few years ago when they went into the Super Bowl against the Patriots. They got the 28-3 halftime lead, and Shanahan didn't pull back when at the time he should. He didn't manage the clock properly. He could have run out the clock, and Patriots would not have had the opportunity to do what they did and win the game. That was a bonehead decision on his part, and he's admitted that. But because of that, and it's really been a problem for him emotionally, everybody really doubts him because of that. I have a feeling he's going to be more conservative this time out because that aggressiveness that he had when he had Matt Ryan and the other great players on Atlanta, and it caused him a problem and arguably cost him the Super Bowl by being aggressive. I think he's going to be more conservative this time. So however the game plays out, whether they're ahead or behind and he's going to run the ball as much as possible. And we've seen it the last couple of weeks. He will take the ball out of Garoppolo's hands to avoid mistakes. And if that happens, I think the under might be the play. It's a big number. But like I said, when you first look at this and you say, gee, that's got to be a game, 35-30 or, easily get into the 60s. And then, of course, you have the weather hanging over your head. So there's these issues that make me want to bet this game in-game rather than pre-game. But I do think Shanahan's going to have that little ghost hanging over his shoulder that he had an opportunity and he got aggressive. He called passing plays instead of running plays that would have killed the clock. And I think that's going to play on him. And I know his dad, Mike Shanahan, is a run-first kind of guy. And we've seen it in his game plan the last few weeks where he will run the ball. I mean, there's like an hour and a half. Garoppolo doesn't even throw a pass, in the game. So that could play into this game and cause this to be an underplay.
I agree with you, Jim. If you like the Niners, I think you got to love the under because if he gets the lead, and he's shown it in the last 2 weeks, he's going to run that ball till they can't run it no more, no punt, especially if they're up 2 scores, 10 or more. If that should be the case, I think you're on the right track. The only way I would lean to the over is if the Chiefs have the lead, they're not going to. I don't think they'll take the foot off the pedal unless it's late in the game. They know it's over. They might run the ball, but if they have a lead now, the Niners are going to have to chase them. So now he's got to take the handcuffs off Garoppolo and hope he can make some plays, more plays than mistakes. So it's one or two. It's going to depend who gets out in front. The Niners get out in front, the under looks good. The Chiefs get out in front, then to me the over would be. But I only teased the total in that bet that I made way back when about over a month ago at stations when the AFC was 3 and the total was 49.5. I took the Niners with 10 and I went over 42.5, which to me is a safe number. I figure they should both get into the 40s. But you're talking 54.5, 55. You're talking another 10, 11 points. So, that's a big amount of points in this game. If I didn't have that play, I would be thinking like you and like the under, but, because it's a high number. Even though I like the Chiefs, it could still be, 31-20. It could be 30-17. You know, it could still stay under and the Chiefs win 27-20. You know, that kind of game. So I would say I think it's a high number, you know, like you're saying. But in-game will be the way to go. This could be a game where you could end up making multiple bets and hope you're on the right side. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have several computers sitting in front of me, and when it's game day, I'm very active in game. So I intend to be very active in game on this particular game too. And I am really keen on what the weather is as we get closer to game time, because it could definitely affect things. Mike, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but this has been a great podcast. I hope the fans enjoy it. It's going to be out on all the social media sites within about 15 minutes. And anything you want to add, or are we done?
No, not really, Jim. I hope a good game. Good luck to everybody who's betting, and let the best team win. Let's see what happens. But the weather, I hope it's a nice day so we don't have to worry about that. So, but we'll wait and see. I'll be watching, anticipating the game. I'm a big football bettor and a fan. I love football, so let's see what happens.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jim. You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, everybody, that's Mike Scalleat. I'm Jim Feist, and I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Go to jimfeist.com. I will be posting my plays there, as well as Hank will be there, and we hope for a good Super Bowl, an entertaining Super Bowl, and of course make a lot of money betting it, should we get down to that point where we have a strong side. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.